Well, they monitor. Of course, they care. The American president is, one of the world's most powerful leaders, and as a leader of a nation that possesses nuclear forces that are targeted against Russia, of course, Russia cares. But Russia isn't going to try and change. First of all, they're not. As far as Russia is concerned, America is the problem, not a particular American president. Anatoly Antonov, when I spoke to him, said that from his perspective, the most important thing is predictability. He doesn't care who is the president as long as the policies of the United States are predictable. And while we didn't get into too many details, the implication was that Donald Trump is a very unpredictable person. So for all these people out there thinking that the Russians want Donald Trump, no, I think the opposite is the truth, that the Russians actually would have preferred Joe Biden. Kamala Harris is an unknown, so there's an element of unpredictability there. But back when it was Biden-Trump, I think the reality is that the Russians were like, well, we'll take Biden. That doesn't mean that it's going to solve any problems, but at least we'll be able to have predictable foreign policy and be able to take our time and put together something. Well, but Donald Trump, is he going to be our friend? Is he going to be our enemy? Is he going to nuke us? Is he going to have a treaty? We don't know. It's very difficult to put together. But the idea that Putin's going to come in here and try and sway the American people is absurd in the extreme. It just isn't happening. And the other thing is, you can tell, when you get Rachel Maddow and Nuland together, or anything coming from the Biden administration, as soon as they bring up, sophisticated AI and all this stuff, what they're saying is, we don't have better ideas, because that's ultimately what this is about. If people are putting things out there, that are challenging the Biden administration's posture. For instance, the things that I've done in Russia to bring information back and to push back on some notions that may exist in the Biden administration, rather than saying no, here's our counter information, here's our better ideas, here's our better information. What they do is they say no, that's Russian propaganda. Well, no, it's not. It's facts. It's fact-based. They call it Russian propaganda because they don't have the ability to articulate a counter argument, to put out opposing facts. That's what we're seeing with Elon Musk. They're afraid of Elon Musk because he's putting out facts that they can't challenge. They're afraid to challenge.
The relationship between the United States and Russia has always been a complex dance of power, diplomacy, and unpredictability. Scott Ritter makes it clear. Russia watches American leadership closely, but they aren't preoccupied with who is in the White House. Instead, their primary concern is policy consistency. For Russia, the key to stability in its dealings with the U.S. lies in predictability. The American president's identity is secondary to whether or not they can anticipate U.S. actions. Anatoly Antonov, Russia's ambassador to the United States, encapsulates this viewpoint. When speaking with Ritter, he emphasized that predictability, not personality, is what matters most. This notion may seem surprising, especially given widespread media narratives that paint Russia as wanting to manipulate American elections. But Ritter dispels this myth, suggesting that Russia would rather deal with a leader who follows a clear, predictable path, even if that path isn't necessarily friendly. Let's consider Donald Trump. Many assume that Russia might have favored Trump due to his seemingly warmer stance toward Moscow. However, Ritter points out that Trump's unpredictability made him less attractive to Russian strategists. One day Trump could be calling for peace talks, and the next he could be escalating tensions. This kind of erratic behavior makes it nearly impossible for Russia, or any nation, for that matter, to craft a coherent long-term strategy. Kamala Harris, when she became a significant figure in the political landscape, represented an unknown element, creating some uncertainty. But back when the choice was between Biden and Trump, Ritter suggests Russia would have leaned toward Biden. Predictability allows for careful planning and strategic responses, something difficult to achieve with a leader as unpredictable as Trump. The uncertainty surrounding Trump's intentions, whether he would foster peace or escalate conflict, made it difficult for Russia to formulate long-term strategies. Contrast this with Joe Biden. While Biden's policies may not be favorable to Russia, they are at least consistent. This allows Russia to plan and respond accordingly. Predictability, in Ritter's view, is the cornerstone of effective diplomacy. It allows for the kind of calculated decision-making that is essential in geopolitics. Now, let's shift the focus to how the U.S. media and political establishment handle dissent. Ritter highlights a troubling trend. Instead of engaging with opposing viewpoints, they often dismiss them outright as Russian propaganda. This tactic, he argues, reveals a lack of substantive counterarguments. If you can't beat the message, attack the messenger. This approach is not only lazy but dangerous. It stifles open debate, a cornerstone of democratic society. Ritter dismisses the notion that Vladimir Putin or any Russian leader would actively try to sway American voters. The idea that Russia would interfere to install a favorable U.S. president is absurd, according to him. Russia's focus is on navigating the challenges posed by U.S. policies, not manipulating American electoral outcomes. Take Elon Musk, for example. Musk has become a target because he dares to challenge the status quo. His influence extends beyond business. He's also a key player in shaping public discourse. When Musk presents facts that challenge mainstream narratives, the response is not to debate him but to label his ideas as propaganda. Ritter sees this as a clear indication of fear of facts that can't be easily dismissed. Musk's willingness to share facts and question prevailing narratives has made him a target. The fear, Ritter says, isn't about Musk's influence per se, but about the factual information he disseminates, which the establishment struggles to refute. Instead of engaging with Musk's ideas, critics resort to calling him a purveyor of propaganda, a tactic that mirrors their response to broader challenges from Russia. This strategy of dismissing dissent as foreign influence undermines trust in institutions. When people see legitimate concerns brushed aside with accusations of propaganda, it fosters skepticism and erodes confidence in leadership. Open dialogue and debate are essential for a healthy democracy, but that's becoming increasingly rare in today's polarized environment. Returning to U.S.-Russia relations, this inability to engage in honest debate complicates matters further. How can two nations find common ground if one side refuses to even entertain opposing viewpoints? For meaningful progress, both sides need to be willing to listen and engage. But as long as the U.S. continues to label dissent as propaganda, the prospects for constructive dialogue remain bleak. Ritter also touches on another crucial point. The idea that Russia is actively trying to influence American elections is overblown. While Russia, like any nation, has interests and preferences, the notion that they are orchestrating grand schemes to sway voters is, as Ritter puts it, absurd. The real issue is not who wins an election, but whether the U.S. will adopt a predictable, stable foreign policy. Predictability doesn't mean peace, but it does create an environment where negotiations and diplomacy can occur. Without it, you're left with chaos and uncertainty, which benefits no one. Ritter's analysis underscores the importance of this concept in international relations. It's not about personalities. It's about policies and the ability to anticipate how a nation will act. In closing, Ritter's insights offer a sobering reminder of the importance of facts, open dialogue, and predictability in both domestic and international affairs. The path forward requires a willingness to engage with opposing viewpoints, not dismiss them. Only then can we hope to build a more stable and predictable world. According to Scott Ritter, Russia certainly cares about who leads the United States, given America's nuclear arsenal and global influence. However, from Russia's perspective, the problem is America's overall policy, not any particular president. Russian Ambassador Anatoly Antonov emphasized that what Russia values most is predictability. While Donald Trump's unpredictability made him a wild card, Joe Biden represented a more predictable option, even if it didn't promise improved relations. The unpredictability surrounding Trump made it difficult for Russia to formulate long-term strategies. The notion that Putin is actively trying to sway American voters is absurd. The real issue, especially in Washington, is a lack of ideas. When alternative perspectives challenge the administration's narrative, rather than engaging in debate or offering counterarguments, it's dismissed as Russian propaganda. The same goes for figures like Elon Musk. His critics fear him because he presents facts they can't counter. When facts are undeniable, labeling them as propaganda becomes the default defense. Thanks for watching.